Greetings and welcome. I'm Ken Dickey, and I want to talk to you today about color in Cuis, and particularly color in the user interface. And so the basic idea is to take a look at how color is used and the user interface and various tools and user interface affordances, little things that help you uh, as a designer play with color and use it and decide what to do with it and those sorts of things. And so I thought I'd start off. This is going to be a little series because I tend to be long-winded, so I have to break this up into short segments so I don't bore you to tears. And so first, I'd like to show some useful, fun uh, 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 use, user interface concepts, and then I want to back off and look at the color in the Cuis space image, and then how various aspects of tools, certain features are packaged and layered up together so you can see how things are composed and how the mechanics of how all this stuff fits together and doing tool interfaces and that kind of stuff. So hopefully this is going to be fun. Anyway, and I just thought I'd start. There's a very good Wikipedia page here I like on color, which I'll jump to over here. Oops, wrong page. All right, here we are. This is one that I like. There are a number of color models. There's a whole thing about the physics of color, the psychology of color, uh, RGB space, hue, saturation, luminance, and hue, saturation, value, chroma. You got all kinds of different fun things. But this one Wikipedia page, HSL and HSV, does a very good job of explaining things. It's well laid out and like that. And talks about the RGB color cube, uh, various properties of the nomenclature and how people are talking about these sorts of things, various aspects of the devices, the mathematical properties and relationships between like RGB space and different aspects of things, color naming and color dictionaries, a whole other topics in itself, various user interfaces for specifying and selecting colors and stuff, and down various algorithmics and transformations and how you decide whether color is green or red, and what colors are close to each other, and all those sorts of things. So this is very nice. It's very well presented, and I'm interested, so I can read a certain amount of this, and then my eyes tend to glaze over, and because I learn best really from interacting with things. And so I like to build things that, if only to play with, but hopefully are useful. And so I'm going to go ahead and load in some packages. So I'm just going to go up here to Workspace and hit do it, and get a bunch of stuff that's going to layer in. And so again, I want to show you, I guess, some of the more composed or fancier stuff, and then back off and start from the basics and then go forward again. So I want to show you kind of where we want to go, and then go through how to get there. Let's see. So what is color and what can I do with it? Let's see. I'm also going to load this other package. Do it again. I should say you probably noticed the coloring here, and the syntax highlighting. This is part of the user interface. So if I can say foo, that's part of a string, but if I complete the string, you see it changes color, and so this gives me some feedback. And if I come up here and select something and I right click generally means context help. So I get some kind of a uh, menu, in which case I can go ahead and do it or print it, or in this case I just did do it, and there's a shortcut key for that. So Command D for do it, Command P, that sort of thing. And so there's a lot of tools to help you out in this environment. And part of the thing about being a small talker is frequently there are some things that act as hills or walls or something that gets in our way. And one of the strategies is to ask, what tools do I need to be successful, and then build that to get some of the rough edges out of your way and make some things easier. And Anyway, we'll get into that in a little bit. So first thing I want to do is put this down in this toolbar here, and I'm going to open a couple of morphs. This push pin means to stay around, otherwise I'm doing something as one shot and these things go away. And for those people that know me know that ellipse morph is one of my favorite morphs for examples and things. And I should say what I just did there. Let me bring out a string morph too, just for fun. Okay. If I middle click on this, command click, I get what's known as a construction halo, where I can go ahead and make something smaller, like put it down here, the taskbar, and get it back. I can delete it, I can get a menu, I can take it and drag it around and so forth, resize, all those sorts of things. Yeah, okay, let me do the same thing with a string. That's kind of small, so I want to make some adjustments here. So let's see, let's make that my little test string. Okay, and maybe I'll make that bold. Sorry. And like a larger font so I can see it a little better. And then what I wanted to show you here in terms of color is there are sometimes you're doing things and putting things together and you really like a particular color, and so you'd like to be able to do something like take that color and just say use that over here. And so that allows you to make two places in your user interface where you know the color is exactly the same because you're just drag and drop. So the use of color in a menu to clue you in what's going on rather than some RGB value or something like that, and the ability to drag and drop between locations is very good. And I guess I should mention while I'm here that that works in this particular extension, which is meta properties, with things like position, where you see there's something, it doesn't have a visual representation, but we can go ahead and we can drag it, and you see the upper, in this case, the upper left corner of the region that containing the ellipse is the same as the upper left corner in the test string, and that sort of thing. So you can do it the other way around too. You can move the string down here. Anyway, so fun stuff. So that's one aspect of user interfaces, trying to take the walls out and make things easier. And the two questions of user interfaces is that one has to answer is where am I and what can I do here, or from a standpoint of implementer or maker, how to make things approachable and useful. Okay. Anyway, let me clean up some of this a little bit. Before I do that, let me get a drop target. All right. So this is one user interface idea is having a construction lens, and it's just a simple lens that says this is who I'm associated with, and I'm going to go ahead and get a morph, which is a palette, and I think that's currently, yeah, I'm just playing around with this, a morph modifier palette. And so the idea here is that you don't do any code that's changing the morph itself that you're operating on, but you need some kind of, particularly for drag and drop, some kind of affordance, something where you can say, I'm manipulating this thing. How do I manipulate? How do I show that something's happening? So in this case, I'm going to take color cycle and drop it on. So you just see that that stays there. And what that does is it means that the color cycles, when I hold the mouse cursor over it, and I'll go ahead and actually I want to get that drop target back. And so you see this is like an x-ray. It allows you to see something that's hidden on the inside. So the idea of a construction lens has been around for a while, and so I'm just playing around with it. And let's see, the other thing I wanted to do actually was to get this menu to stay up a little bit. And you'll notice that when the color changes, there's a little delay here, but the color also gets updated on the menu. And what's happening here is that there is the idea of events. And rather than having spaghetti code or some tightly bound thing where you're adding code to the morph that says, oh yeah, tell me when you update, execute this, what happens is that the morph generates an event that said, oh yeah, something changed, and the menu has registered an interest in that when you change, let me know or whatnot, and then I can say what changed, or did your color change, give me the new color, and that sort of thing. And so that's a very handy thing. And okay, let me go ahead. I want to yeah, add something else. So the idea here is rather than have just a palette of colors or something like that, you can also have a palette of behaviors. And so in this particular case, I've got one that's makes it larger and smaller. And let's do a bounce too. Okay, so now when I do this, so I'm just trying to loosen you up a little bit in terms of the idea of user interfaces, and this is the type of thing, if you're like building interactive games or something like that, you want to be able to have a palette of behaviors that you can then start immediately working with media. Because if you get people like me that are more visually oriented, I mean, I go in and I do all the coding stuff and all the algorithmics, but it's good to allow for different styles of interface and modification and that kind of stuff. So I could, yeah, okay, enough of that. So I could get along there, but I think what I want to do at this point is to make a break, and I'll continue on in the next segment and take you through the mechanics of how to do all this kind of stuff. And the next segment is going to be again a little more about color in the user interface. So hope to see you shortly.